Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that has changed my life and the lives of so many people I've had the privilege of teaching over the years. It's a principle so simple, so profound, and yet so often overlooked. It's this: you become what you think about. Now I want you to let that settle for a moment. Think about it. What's running through your mind all day long? What occupies your thoughts when you wake up in the morning? When you're driving? When you're lying in bed at night? Because here's the truth. Your life is a direct reflection of the dominating thoughts in your mind. You see, the human mind is a garden. You can plant seeds of success, ambition, joy, gratitude, or you can plant seeds of doubt, worry, fear, and procrastination. But make no mistake, whatever you plant, you will surely harvest. The mind doesn't care what you plant. It will return what you give it. So you've got to be the watchman at the gate of your own thinking. When I was younger, I used to think life just happened to me. I thought I was a victim of circumstances, of the economy, of luck. But then I discovered this incredible truth that my thoughts shape my actions and my actions shape my future. That changed everything. If you think about growth, you'll move toward it. If you think about opportunities, you'll begin to see them. If you think about solving problems, solutions will begin to appear. But if you dwell on what's wrong, what's broken, what's missing, you'll only attract more of the same. The mind is powerful, but it needs direction. It needs a goal. It needs a vision. You've got to take charge of your thoughts like the captain of a ship. Set a destination and steer. Don't just float around, hoping you'll bump into success. That's not how it works. The wind of life blows on all of us, but it's the set of your sail, your thinking, that determines where you go. Some people think success is about luck or being in the right place at the right time. Let me tell you, success is about becoming the kind of person who attracts success. And that begins with thought. Think like a leader, and soon you'll start to lead. Think like a servant, and you'll begin to lift others. Think like a winner, and you'll start making winning choices. Whatever you consistently think about, you'll move toward. That's the law. So the key question is, what are you feeding your mind? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Because all of these shape your thinking, and ultimately, they shape you. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's worth it. You've got to work on your thoughts every single day. You've got to clean out the weeds, self-doubt, fear, laziness, and plant new seeds: belief, courage, discipline, gratitude. Do that long enough and watch what happens. Your life will begin to change. So if you want to change your life, don't start with your circumstances. Start with your thoughts. Think better. Think bigger. Think stronger. Because you're not just living a life, you're building one. One thought at a time. You become what you think about. So think wisely, think boldly, and think forward. The future belongs to those who believe it's possible and think their way there. Let me tell you something that could turn the course of your entire life around. Something so simple, yet so profound. It's not hidden in some ancient book or locked away in a vault. It's a truth that's been right there in front of us the whole time. Here it is. You become what you think about. That's it. That's the key. You see, the world is full of distractions. There are voices from every direction telling you who you should be, what you should want, and how you should live. But the real question, the most important question, is what you are telling yourself. Because what you whisper to yourself every day becomes the script that runs your life. The mind is a powerful machine, and just like a machine, it can either be a servant or a master. The difference? Who's doing the programming? Your thoughts. What you dwell on, what you entertain, what you nurture are the programmers. They write the code of your beliefs, and those beliefs determine your habits, your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately, your results. It's no accident that some people just seem to rise, no matter where they started. It's not because they had some magic potion. It's because they cultivated the right thoughts. They disciplined their minds. They fed their brains with ideas of possibility, ideas of growth, ideas of contribution and faith. And over time, those thoughts became the architecture of a new life. Now, I'm not talking about some kind of fluffy daydreaming where you sit around and hope everything will fall into place. No, that's not what I mean. Hope is important, but it's not a strategy. I'm talking about directed, focused, intentional thought. Thought that produces vision. Thought that fuels action. Thought that builds habits. Because when you control your thinking, you begin to take control of your outcomes. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who constantly thinks, I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. Nothing ever works for me. You might think those are just words, but those words form the lens through which that person sees the world. They walk into a room expecting to fail, expecting to be rejected, expecting to be overlooked. And what do they find? Exactly what they were looking for.
Why?
Because the mind is always looking for evidence to support its dominant thoughts. That's how it works. Now flip that around. Flip that around. What if you start thinking, why I'm capable? I can learn anything I set my mind to. I may not know it all now, but I can grow. I can get better. Think about what kind of life that person begins to live. Suddenly, the challenges look different. The setbacks become lessons. The future doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like an adventure. Because your thoughts shape your interpretation of reality, and your interpretation becomes your experience of life. You become what you think about. That means if you think in terms of problems, you'll live in a world full of obstacles. But if you think in terms of solutions, you'll live in a world full of possibilities. It's the same world, but a completely different life. And let me tell you, the good news is you're not stuck. No one is stuck. No one is stuck. You can begin today, right now, to plant new seeds in the garden of your mind, because your mind will grow whatever you give it. If you plant thorns, it'll grow thorns. If you plant roses, it'll grow roses. It doesn't judge. It doesn't question. It just obeys. That's why you've got to be the one in charge. So the challenge is not a can I think positively once in a while. The real challenge is, can I discipline myself to think intentionally every day? That's the difference between occasional motivation and consistent transformation. One is a spark. The other is a fire. Now let's talk about your dreams for a second. Whatever it is you want. A better career, a stronger family, financial independence, deeper meaning in your life. It all starts with a thought. Everything begins in the mind. The airplane, the internet, the skyscraper, the cell phone, every great invention, every business, every movement, it all started with a thought. One person had an idea and believed in it. Then they nurtured that thought, added clarity, took action, refined it, and brought it into reality. The same is true for your life. The person you want to become begins with the thoughts you start choosing today. Do you think like someone who wins, or do you think like someone who waits for things to happen? Do you think like someone who creates value, or someone who reacts to life, or someone who reacts to life? Those questions will define your destiny far more than your current circumstances ever will. I've seen it time and time again. People who were broke, stuck, discouraged, but they started changing their thinking. They began feeding their minds with books, mentors, ideas, and purpose. Slowly, their language changed, their decisions improved, their confidence rose, and their results followed. Why? Because they became what they consistently thought about. Don't underestimate the power of repetition. What you think about all day long, over and over, becomes your mental soundtrack. That soundtrack either lifts you or limits you. So you've got to ask yourself, what song is playing in your head every day? Is it one of strength, vision, and gratitude, or one of fear, blame, and excuses? If you don't like the music, change the station. You have that power. You can take the reins of your thinking and steer it in a new direction. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen if you stay committed. Start feeding your mind with ideas that stretch you. Read books that challenge your comfort zone. Hang around people who lift you up, not tear you down. Guard your inner world like it's the most valuable treasure on earth. Because it is. Let me leave you with this. Your thoughts are the blueprint for your life. Every day, brick by brick, you're building your future with the thoughts you entertain. So think big. Think bold. Think with purpose, because you become what you think about. And when you think wisely, you begin to live wisely. When you think with intention, you begin to act with purpose. And when you think like the person you want to be, you start becoming that person, one thought at a time. You become what you think about. That's not just a phrase, it's a law. It's one of those timeless principles that has echoed through the halls of philosophy, psychology, religion, and personal development. And it's true no matter who you are or where you're from. The thoughts you hold most consistently, the ideas you entertain regularly, the mental conversations you repeat quietly, those are the very things shaping your life at this moment. That's not just motivational talk. That's cause and effect. You see, we live in a world that's always trying to shape us. Television, social media, the news, the opinions of others. The world around you is pulling at your attention, trying to feed you its own thoughts and beliefs. And if you're not conscious, not deliberate, not intentional, you'll start thinking thoughts that aren't even yours. You'll start dreaming dreams that don't come from your heart. You'll find yourself living a life that was programmed by your environment instead of one designed by your mind. But here's the good news. You don't have to be a passive participant. You can take control. You can take the wheel. Because you, my friend, are the thinker. You're not the thought. That's important to remember. You are the one doing the thinking, Dedi, which means you have the ability to choose what you dwell on. You can decide the kind of ideas that get to stay and grow and the kind that get shown the door. If you're always thinking about fear, then your life begins to shrink. Your decisions become conservative. You say no when you should be saying yes. You hesitate when you should act. You retreat when you should move forward. Why? Because your thoughts are telling you a story of risk, danger, failure. And if you listen to that story long enough, you start believing it. You start living it. And slowly, your reality begins to reflect it. On the other hand, if you fill your mind with belief, your world expands. You start seeing opportunities instead of threats. You begin to act with courage instead of caution. You find energy instead of exhaustion because belief fuels action. And action repeated and focused creates results. I've often said you don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. And what you are is deeply connected to what you think. Your thoughts are like the roots underground. What grows above is just a result of what's happening below. If you don't like the fruits, you've got to change the root. You've got to go back to the thoughts. Now, this doesn't mean that every little thought you have instantly turns into reality. No, life doesn't work that simply. But it does mean that what you consistently and emotionally dwell on, those thoughts repeated with feeling, those thoughts will begin to influence everything about your life, your words, your tone, your choices, your habits, your relationships, your direction. Let's say you begin to think about growth. Yes, not just once, not just on New Year's Eve, but every single day. You wake up thinking, how can I grow today? What can I learn? How can I improve just one step from yesterday? You think about books. You think about mentors. You think about disciplines. And soon, growth becomes part of your identity, Siddhi. Alma, it's not just what you do anymore. It's who you are. You've become someone who grows. And that's how you become valuable in the marketplace, powerful in your relationships, strong in your spirit, because you become what you think about. Now, this principle doesn't care if you understand it or not. It doesn't care if you agree with it or not. It's working in your life right now. It works just like gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to work. Step off a rooftop and see what happens. The law is still the law, and the law of thought is the same. Whether you believe it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, it's shaping your life. So you've got to ask yourself, what do I think about all day long? What thoughts am I allowing to circulate in my mind like a broken record? Are they thoughts of limitation or thoughts of expansion? Are they thoughts of resentment and regret? Or are they thoughts of possibility and power? Because your dominant thoughts become your internal compass, pointing you toward your future, pulling you toward a destination. Whether you like that destination or not, it all starts in the mind. Every empire, every invention, every breakthrough, every dream, it started as a thought. Think of that. Somebody had to believe it before it ever existed. Somebody had to visualize it before it was real. They had to carry the thought long enough for it to take root and come alive. You can't think like a failure and live like a winner. You can't think like a victim and walk like a leader. You can't think small and expect a big life. It doesn't work that way. Your inner world creates your outer world. Change what you think, and you start changing everything else. This is why I encourage people to feed their minds daily. Just like your body needs good nutrition, your mind needs good information, ideas that uplift, truths that challenge, words that build. Stop filling your mind with noise and start filling it with wisdom, and do it consistently. Because repetition is the mother of skill, and also the mother of mindset. Don't just think by default, think by design. Choose thoughts that serve you. Choose thoughts that lead you somewhere. Choose thoughts that make you stronger. When the negative ones come, and they will, you don't have to fight them. Just replace them. You can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. The same goes for thoughts. You can't stop a negative thought from showing up, but you can stop it from settling in. Every time you choose a better thought, you're building a better life. It may seem small, it may seem slow, but over time, it compounds. And just like a garden, what you plant and water will eventually bloom. It's inevitable. So if you want to change your life, don't start with your job or your bank account or even your circumstances. Start with your thinking. Get clear on what you're feeding your mind, because what you feed will grow. What you starve will die. And what you repeatedly think about, that is what you become. You become what you think about. And that, my friend, is both the challenge and the invitation. So think wisely, think intentionally, think daily, because your future is shaped by the thoughts you choose today. You become what you think about. This one idea, if taken seriously and practiced daily, can completely transform the course of your life. It sounds simple, and in many ways it is, but don't confuse simplicity with weakness. Some of the most powerful truths in life are the simplest. And this one truth, that the dominant thoughts in your mind shape your reality, is not just a motivational saying. It's a principle that governs everything you do, everything you become, and everything you will ever achieve. Every result you see in your life today, whether it's your level of health, your financial situation, your relationships, or your career, can be traced back to a thought. Thoughts are the seeds. Results are the harvest. Yeah. And just like the law of planting and harvesting, you can't plant apple seeds and expect oranges. You can't feed your mind thoughts of doubt, fear, lack, and limitation and expect to live a life of confidence, success, abundance, and freedom. It doesn't work that way. You will always become what you think about most of the time. That's the key right there. What you think about most of the time. Everyone has a few positive thoughts now and then. Everyone dreams once in a while. Everyone feels motivated occasionally. But the people who change their lives, the ones who rise above their circumstances, who break through obstacles, who achieve greatness, are the ones who have learned to consistently and intentionally direct their thoughts. They know that every day the battle begins in the mind. Before you fight the battle in the real world, you fight it first in your thinking. And if you lose the battle in your thinking, you'll lose the battle in your actions. So much of life is lived on autopilot. People wake up and immediately start reacting to the world around them. They scroll through their phones, absorb the opinions of others, drown in negative news, and then wonder why they feel anxious, tired, discouraged, and stuck. But they never stop to ask, what thoughts have I been feeding my mind? What direction am I giving my life through the way I think? Because the truth is, your thoughts are steering the wheel, even if you don't realize it. If you don't take control of them, they will still lead you, but they might lead you somewhere you don't want to go. Your mind is like a garden. If you plant weeds, thoughts of worry, resentment, self-doubt, those weeds will multiply and choke out your potential. But if you plant seeds of purpose, gratitude, possibility, and discipline, those thoughts will grow into strength, direction, and powerful action. The garden doesn't judge what you plant. It just returns what you sow. So the real question is, what are you planting each day? Every time you repeat a thought, you're watering it. Every time you dwell on an idea, you're strengthening it. And over time, your thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs are just thoughts you've repeated enough times that you no longer question them. They become the filters through which you see the world. They shape what you notice, what you ignore, what you try, and what you avoid. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll sabotage opportunities without even realizing it. If you believe success is only for other people, you'll never fully go after your dreams. But if you believe you are capable of growing, changing, and building something meaningful, you'll take actions that move you toward that vision. It all starts with the thoughts you choose to dwell on. And yes, you do have a choice. You may not control every thought that pops into your head, but you do control what you focus on. You control what you entertain, what you rehearse, what you amplify. A thought might arrive uninvited, but you decide whether it stays for dinner. That's the power of awareness. That's the beginning of mental mastery, when you realize you're not at the mercy of your mind. You are the master of it. Of course, this takes practice. This takes intention. You won't change your thinking overnight, just like you don't change your physical health overnight. It's a process, a daily discipline. It starts with becoming more aware of what you're thinking, paying attention to the inner conversations you're having all day long. Are they lifting you up or tearing you down? Are they leading you toward growth or keeping you in fear? Once you're aware, you can begin the real work, replacing negative, disempowering thoughts with better ones. That doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing thoughts that serve you, thoughts that strengthen you, thoughts that move you forward. Instead of thinking, I'm stuck, you say, I'm learning to find a way. Instead of thinking, I always fail, you say, every setback teaches me something valuable. Instead of thinking, it's too late, you say, I'm just getting started. Over time, those new thoughts begin to reshape your identity, your behavior, and your results. Remember, your mind will believe whatever you tell it most often. So speak to yourself with vision, with truth, with strength. Read things that expand your perspective. Surround yourself with people who challenge and uplift you. Fill your environment with reminders of what's possible. Because whatever dominates your thinking will eventually dominate your life. This is not about wishful thinking. It's not about just imagining success and waiting for it to show up. This is about planting the right mental seeds so you begin taking the right actions. Right thinking leads to right action. Right action leads to right habits. Right habits create right results. But it all starts with a thought. You become what you think about. If you think like a victim, you'll feel powerless. If you think like a leader, you'll find solutions. If you think like someone who can learn and grow, you will begin to improve every area of your life. No one can do your thinking for you. That's your job. And it's the most important job you have. So the next time you catch yourself drifting into fear, doubt, or limitation, stop and remind yourself of this truth. You are not your past. You are not your circumstances. You are not your mistakes. You are the thinker of your thoughts, the author of your story, the captain of your ship. And with every thought you choose, you're writing the next chapter of your life. Think wisely. Think powerfully. Because what you think about, you become. You become what you think about. This idea has shaped the lives of countless successful people and driven countless others into mediocrity, depending on how they used it. At first glance, it might seem like a motivational phrase, something you'd find on a poster or hear in a self-help seminar. But when you look deeper, you realize it's a principle that governs your life, whether you believe in it or not. Just like gravity pulls you toward the ground, whether you understand the science behind it or not, the thoughts you consistently dwell on are pulling your life in a specific direction, toward who you are becoming. That's why this single point is worth 1,000 words, 1,000 moments of reflection, and a lifetime of application. Because if you grasp this one truth and live by it, you can truly change everything. Your thoughts are the blueprint. Everything else, the words you speak, the habits you build, the decisions you make, the direction your life takes, all of that flows downstream from your thinking. If you want to improve your life, you have to start by improving your thoughts. That's the foundation. Because it's impossible to live a positive life with a negative mind. It's impossible to build confidence while constantly telling yourself you're not good enough. It's impossible to take bold action when your thinking is small, fearful, or self-defeating. Everything begins in the mind. And if you don't intentionally choose what you think about, then the world around you will choose for you, and that's a dangerous place to live from. Most people don't understand how powerful their thoughts are. They believe they're thinking their own thoughts, but often they're just recycling the fears, doubts, and limitations they've absorbed from the world around them. They were told they weren't smart enough, so they think small. They experienced failure, so they expect it again. They hear the news, read negative stories, and listen to pessimistic people, and over time, those messages become part of their mental environment. And just like the environment you live in physically affects your health, the environment you live in mentally affects your identity, your direction, and your results. But the good news is you can take control. You don't have to let life program your thinking. You can program it yourself. You can build a new mindset, one thought at a time. Imagine your mind is a garden. Every thought is a seed. The thoughts you think most often are the ones you water. And eventually, those seeds take root and grow into something real in your life. If you're constantly thinking about how things might go wrong, you're watering the seeds of fear. If you're always thinking about what you lack, you're watering the seeds of scarcity. But if you start thinking about what's possible, about who you can become, about the steps you can take today to move forward, now you're watering the seeds of growth, and that's when everything begins to change. Because your actions follow your expectations. And your expectations are built on your thoughts. That's why it's so important to become aware of your inner dialogue. What do you say to yourself when no one's around? What story are you telling yourself about your life, your future, your worth, your abilities? Because those stories are shaping your behavior. If you're telling yourself that you're always behind, that you can never catch up, that you're not as talented or capable as others, then your behavior will match that belief. You'll act like someone who's behind. You'll play small. You'll hesitate. You'll self-sabotage. But if you tell yourself a better story, a true story of growth, learning, and resilience, then you'll begin to behave like someone who's on a mission, someone who's growing stronger, someone who's going somewhere. And behavior like that starts producing different results. You become what you think about because your thoughts direct your focus. Whatever you focus on, you move toward. If you think about problems all day, you become a problem solver at best and a problem dweller at worst. But if you think about possibilities, opportunities, solutions, and goals, you become a builder, a visionary, a leader of your own life. That shift in thinking changes everything. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's clarity, creates movement. And it comes from thinking clearly about where you're going and why it matters. This also means you must be intentional about what you expose your mind to. Garbage in, garbage out. You can't fill your mind with negativity and expect a positive outlook. You can't scroll for hours through comparison-driven social media, then wonder why you feel inadequate. You can't listen to cynical people all day and then try to believe in yourself at night. You've got to guard your mind like your future depends on it. It does. Start reading things that inspire you. Listen to voices that challenge and uplift you. Surround yourself with people who think big, live fully, and dream loudly. Your environment shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. Of course, this doesn't mean you'll never have a negative thought again. We're all human. Fear shows up. Doubt creeps in. But when you understand the power of your thoughts, you no longer entertain those feelings for long. You recognize them, and then you replace them. You choose better thoughts, not because you're ignoring reality, but because you're building a new one. You shift your thinking from I can't to how can I, from a this is too hard to this is worth it, from I'm not ready to I'm growing every day, to growing every day. Those are the kind of thoughts that move your life in a new direction. Thoughts create beliefs. Beliefs create behavior. Behavior creates habits. Habits create results. And results create your life. That's the chain reaction. That's the path from thinking to becoming. It all begins with the simple yet powerful truth. You become what you think about. So think carefully. Think wisely. Think intentionally. Because your mind is not just a place where ideas come and go. It's the control center of your destiny. If you don't like where your life is right now, don't just look at your circumstances. Look at your thinking. If you want to change your future, change what you dwell on. If you want to build something meaningful, plant the seeds of belief, discipline, focus, and purpose in your mind every single day. Water those thoughts, nurture them, protect them, because in time they will become your reality. Not overnight, but over time. And that time is worth it. So never forget, your life will rise or fall based on the quality of your thinking. Choose thoughts that reflect your vision, not your fears. Choose thoughts that align with your highest potential, not your lowest doubts. Choose thoughts that pull you forward, not ones that hold you back. Because what you think about, you will become. And once you truly understand that, you're no longer a victim of your circumstances. You become the architect of your life. So as we bring this message to a close, remember this powerful truth. You become what you think about. Not just sometimes, not just when things are going well, but always. Your dominant thoughts are shaping your future in ways seen and unseen. They are the quiet architects of your habits, your choices, your identity, and ultimately your destiny. You don't need to wait for better circumstances, more resources, or someone to come save you. You already hold the key right between your ears. Start thinking intentionally. Start choosing thoughts that are worthy of the life you want to live. Focus on growth, possibility, purpose, and strength. Feed your mind the kind of thoughts that build you up and push you forward. Because the mind, once stretched by a powerful thought, never returns to its original shape. Plant good seeds, water them daily, protect your mental garden, and trust that in time, with discipline and belief, your life will rise to match the level of your thinking. You have the power. Use it well, because what you think about, you will become.